And because I'm recording it, we can edit it as well. So I'll chop this starting part off, and we'll see if we can pause it at the right time. But I had another author have a bit of a coughing fit during hers, so I got to edit out a minute of coughing fit.
It's not a good thing during COVID, no.
No, luckily it was through this, so it wasn't live.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, we will get started. Hello, Leanne Owens, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we are talking about all things Outback Australian and history. So tell me a bit about how many books, because I'm on your Amazon page right now, and I can see a truckload here.
Yeah, no, I've written quite a few. I think there's quite a large, I think there's 10 main books, but there are quite a few others.
How satisfying is that, to hold 10 of your own books?
Look, it is fantastic, because I think your first 5 books, you don't make a lot of money, but once you get past 5, then the market starts building up. So it's now very satisfying.
You've got that backlist, and I find that you can always, like, if someone sees you launch your next one, they're like, oh, they've got several, so I won't run out and I don't get left on too much of a cliffhanger too soon.
Yes, well, I never write cliffhangers, even in series, but I found, like, in the early books, you would wait for months to get 10 reviews. The book I released 2 months ago, it's got over 100 reviews in the first 6 weeks. So, and they're very important when you're an indie publisher. So
yes, yeah, absolutely. Reviews are gold. So anyone watching this and anyone listening to this, please, if you like a book, or even if you've just read a book, go and leave at least some stars on that, so that other people can know. And even if you leave a bad review, it means that you will help other people understand what's going on with that book. So
yes, I'm lucky in that probably about 85 to 90% of my reviews are 5-star. Excellent. But there are still 1-star reviews. I mean, there's one book has a very tragic start, and a reader 1-starred it because she couldn't read any further.
Yeah,
but that was still valuable, because it wasn't her message to me. It's her message to other readers, and that was a very valid point to make.
Absolutely. And I find that when someone's reading a book, if they leave a review like that, then that at least gives the other audience direction. But if they don't leave anything and they've just left a 1-star, it's like, why have you left 1 star?
Yes, yeah, and it's one of the downsides, I think, of the big publishing houses or self-publishing houses like Amazon, is that there's a lot of people trying to make money out of authors. So you have people trying to get you to pay for reviews, which are against the Amazon terms of service, so never ever do that. But if you say, well, no, I'm not going to pay for a review, you will often find a 1-star turn up within the next couple of days. Not an actual review, just a 1-star. And I'm fairly sure that's the sort of punishment that goes around for not paying for reviews. So yeah, there's some downsides to this review.
That makes sense. I have a review on my first book that's 1-star, and it's just a sad face. And I'm like, but why? Why is that there? And that kind of makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if the book is well written, so it's not full of errors, and I have a master's in education, so I'd like to think as an English teacher, mine are not full of errors. If it's an engaging story, it's a reasonable length, and it's well formatted, then it should never really rank less than 3 stars. Yes. I mean, I think the 1-stars really should be for those books, and there's plenty. I think there's 20 million books on Amazon, so there's quite a few that are badly written. They have full of errors and very badly formatted. There's your 1-starers.
Badly formatted can be a bit tricky, because as someone who is a bit more tech-minded, and I'm also self-published, formatting the book is the bane of my existence, because I'm a perfectionist with it, and it's like everything has to be right, but after a while of staring at it, you forget what you're staring at. But yeah, formatting can make the book so I've seen books where they've formatted it incorrectly, and it's not just they've formatted it poorly, like there's no indentation at the start of paragraphs or things like that, or they've got the wobbly edge, they haven't got it nice and straight down the side.
Yes.
That one's okay. Those ones, like, they're forgivable, but I've seen ones where dialogue from two different people will start on the same line, and it makes it so hard to understand who's speaking.
I know. And I mean, I know when I sort of give advice to authors starting out is to look at how the traditionally published books, the successful ones, are formatted and copy that.
Yes.
I mean, don't have a spare line between paragraphs. Make sure it's justified left and right. Do have an indent for each one. There's lots of little things. And it's just a matter of copying. It's not like there aren't any examples out there for us to copy. So, yeah, bad formatting look, as a reader, and I read a lot of books, if I get to that first page and it's badly formatted, that's it. I just don't read on. So yeah, I'm sure there's other readers like that.
Oh, absolutely. And I find that if something starts a bit too cliche, I don't read on either.
Yes, yeah, look, that's something that's really come out strongly with the self-publishing. Prior to self-publishing, books could prattle on for chapter after chapter because you'd bought a hard copy and you were invested in reading it no matter what. But now with Amazon and ebooks, if that book doesn't grab you on the first page, it's just too easy to go, well, I'll just send it back, I don't want it, and go for another one. So yes, that grabbing readers in a great first line, a great first paragraph is a really important thing with self-publishing.
You can even take it a step back further and say that the cover needs to give a really clear example of what the reader is in for. So you really need, your cover needs to reflect what the content of the book is. So you need to know your target market, or you need to know who your ideal reader is for that book, so that they don't pick it up and they're like, this is nothing like what I thought it was going to be.
And look, there are so many great cover designers out there now, and a lot of them are relatively inexpensive. So, you know, that's my advice again, to don't design it yourself unless you're a whiz at Photoshop. And know your genres. I mean, a lot of mine are middle grade books for children and teens who like horses. So
I can see that. It's all silhouettes of horses on brightly coloured backgrounds.
Yeah, so they were pretty easy, and it's a bit of a brand. And those ones, you know, middle grade is not, with actually the main readers for those ones are middle-aged horsewomen rather than pre-teens and teens, but that's all right. And that as a set probably makes about $800 a month.
Wonderful.
So even though you think middle grade's not a popular genre, it can be. And the covers, my daughter made those ones. So yeah, we're not talking your big cover, expensive covers for that.
Well,
once I get to the adult ones, I've paid.
Yeah, they're beautiful covers. And the fact that they have consistency, you know, you're in the same series, you know that you're looking at the same thing over and over again. When you change series, you can change the cover up a little bit, like what I can see. I'm just looking at your Amazon page, so it looks very impressive. But you can see when your series changes, even if you're writing in the same genre, and you can see when the genre changes because it's so distinct. I'm looking at your Star Writer one. That's so different.
Yeah, that's bring that one up.
I love that cover. That's stunning.
And look, that's a case of do as I say, don't do as I do. If you want to make money as a self-publisher, don't go and write standalones.
No.
And I did that because I wasn't interested in the money to start with. I was just interested in writing great books. So it's a standalone, but it's clearly a romance. I've moved on. These ones, there's Rescued and Muted.
Yes.
Clearly with horses on the cover. They are professionally designed covers. They go right through.
Excellent. Yep.
And that's a series of mysteries. And they're the big sellers. People really like that. But again, it clearly tells you it's going to be horses about it. You're not going to have a reader buy that book and then be surprised there's horses in it. I mean, it's more your Dick Francis type story.
I would be disappointed if there weren't horses in it. Like, that's the thing that gets me, when there's something on the cover that's not in the book. Like if they put a dragon on the cover.
Just going to say that because I love dragon stories.
Oh, I know, right? It's horses and dragons. If I see that on the cover, I'm like, yes, that right there. Whatever is in that, I'll probably like it.
Yeah, I'm a huge Lindsay Barocca fan.
Oh my gosh, isn't she incredible?
Yeah, and I mean, for any new author starting out, study everything she says and does, because she has nailed it. And you're talking, I mean, I don't know, $1 million a month or more that she's making with self-publishing. It's huge money.
I don't think she's quite up to 1 million, but she's humble about what she makes. But she has such a rapid release schedule. Like, she's putting a book out every 3 months. It's 100,000 words. It's crazy. But that is her marketing. She doesn't really do much else outside of that anymore. She just releases the book, and she has the audience base, because I sent her an email and she responded. So I was so chuffed. But when I spoke to her, she said that she doesn't have to do any of the advertising anymore, because the new release of book is enough, and her audience and platform is big enough that it's now self-sustainable.
Yes, I mean, she's become a brand, and I mean, her dragons, well, who isn't in love with all her dragons?
Absolutely. And her space opera.
Oh, yes, I know. Yeah, and even her Ruby Lions Drake books, if you're going to write as pen name, there's a good way to go down that track too.
I was listening to her podcast when she released that line, and she was it was the sci-fi and fantasy marketing podcast.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how it was just an experiment to do romance.
Yeah, she did a good job. But there's a lot of other authors like that in that indie market that are really nailing it. So for any people out there that want to have a go, learn from those who are doing well. Don't do what I did and do some some standalones. Do your series in a clear genre. Even if they're a little bit like another author, it really helps. I mean, I market this Dimity Horse Mysteries now as a bit like a cross between Dick Francis and Nicholas Sparks, because they're very emotional. And that, that gives people an idea of, I love those authors, I'll like this. But yeah, there's a lot to learn with self-publishing. But gee, there's a lot of people coming in if they follow the formula, and there really is a formula to success. Number one, being able to write well. But if they follow the formula, publish, release, do it in a series, there's a lot doing that $50,000 a month now. So that's, fingers crossed, where I'm heading, but not there yet.
You know what? I've had a couple of authors approach me, and they're either new, or they lack the confidence, or they're in that dreamer category where they've got great books, they've written them, but they just have that nervousness about taking the final action to market it. And I found that when you're in a beautiful community of authors that are all encouraging you, you feel that courage to take those steps and to fail. To absolutely fail, so you can learn and move on, and then finally succeed.
Look, it is a learning process. We're all still learning. I mean, people like Lindsay Barocca, they're still learning.
Yes, and she failed massively. Like, when she started, it was so slow. She was struggling so much when she first started, but she just kept going, and that's the difference between success and failure. You just keep going.
And having the people to back you up and say, well, you think that was bad, you should have seen what I did. That really helps. I see the same thing in teaching. You'll be in a staff room, there'll be a young teacher come back almost in tears because she's had a dreadful lesson. Children have been awful. She doesn't know what to do. And the really great teachers, instead of trying to just help her, they'll say, you think that's bad? Let me tell you about one of the lessons I had.
Sometimes that helps.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, it makes you realize, you do get ahead by making failures and making mistakes.
Yes.
And self-publishing, there's a lot of errors to make, but if you can listen, this notion, write in a series, release them fairly close together, make it a clear genre, have a great cover, do the editing properly. There's money to be made.
The good thing about self-publishing as well is that you can change these things. So, for instance, I'm going to redo all of my covers when I release book 10 as a box set, but they all get redone because this is something Lindsay said to me, they're a bit boring. They're not speaking to my target market. And they speak to a very niche section of my target market, but there's a way I can speak to them and still broaden it a bit more. So yeah, having the ability to fix mistakes. So if someone comes back and there's a really stubborn mistake in your book, you can change that.
Yes, yeah, and look, you can never edit enough.
Oh, I know, right? It never doesn't stop. You just have to say, no, this is enough.
Yeah, and get the book out there and then read it again on your Kindle or get your paperback. You'll still find errors.
Oh,
but
yeah.
look, Dune, the great sci-fi novel Dune has an error.
I've got one of them here.
Yes. So don't beat yourself up too much. I do American spelling because that's where most of my market is. And that
I heard
probably
something
annoys
really
my Australian people.
well. I heard something that could be considered offensive about using American spelling, and I had one of my author friends who has been in this ring for a good 20 years or so, and she said to me, "All right, so you're stubborn about using British spelling, but the question you have to ask is in your reviews." Who is stupid enough to think that you've spelt it wrong? Is it the British or is it the Americans? And I was like, I'm still going to use British because that's a me thing, but I totally understand that.
Yeah, look, I'm an English teacher, so I love colour being spelt COLOUR. But I dropped the U but that's where most of my market is. So I really do it because as a sign of respect for that's where my market is in America.
Yeah.
And also, they are the ones that are going to say, oh my God, she spelled so much wrong.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't want to have that fight.
Yeah. But these are things that when you self-publish, you do need to consider.
Yes.
If your main thing is now that Amazon publish paperbacks here in Australia, there are a lot of people want to publish just to get the paperbacks and sell them at flea markets, in which case stick to your English, Australian British spelling. But if you're really trying to hit the Kindle market in America, it's definitely American spelling is the way to go.
And Americans are voracious readers. They absolutely love it when they can consume books en masse. And to be able to get books digitally has just opened up the market so much to the entire planet.
And so that they're voraciously readers. They're also lazy readers in that they get one book from an author that they like. And at the end of it, they'll just buy their next book and their next book. And I have a lot of people read the books that are designed for adults. Well, there's no swearing or graphic sex in them, so 16-year-olds can read them.
Just slightly more mature content.
Yes, yeah. But then they'll go on and read the middle grade books as well, because once they like something you've written, they will read through the whole lot, which is the trick to self-publishing, to get yourself your 10 to 20 books at least. Before you expect to see the money coming in.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely about like the 10 book mark. I've found that 10 books seems to be the book threshold of success, and 6 years full-time effort into promoting that seems to be that's the time threshold.
And you're just learning all the time, but there's so many great, really good groups on social media, like that 20 books to 50K. There's also some dreadful writing groups that are filled with writers who can't write, just desperate for other people to buy their books. And there's not a lot of point being in those groups because there's no people buying books. There's just people trying to sell books.
Yes, yeah. And there's a lot of amateur writer groups as well. They just don't have the ambition to be a published author. They just enjoy writing. So you've got to determine which groups you want to be a part of and what level of success you want, because that's what you're working towards. And that's the people you want to surround yourself with.
Look, there are a lot of people, they just want to tell their memoir, or they have one story. And Amazon's still a wonderful way, or any of the self-publishing houses. There's a lot more to them. Ingram Sparks here in Australia, they're great.
Yep.
They're wonderful. You have one book, get it out, buy yourself 100 copies and give them to your friends. But if you really want to make money, then yes, focus on getting that backlog of books up, and probably don't even bother marketing until you've got 5 out there.
I think you've got to have your platform set up. But yeah, just like the generic marketing, inviting people to like your Facebook page, that sort of thing. But it's if you're going to pull something like Jenna Morassi, who she released her Patreon 6 years into her writing career, and then boom, she hit bestseller in Audible. When she finally released her first book, it went absolutely mental. And then when she released her second, it took less than a week for it to be the bestseller on Amazon and on Audible in all categories.
Yeah. Once you get to levels like that, it's I mean, that's still a dream area.
She has a background in marketing, so she knew exactly what she
Yeah,
was doing. And like I said, she spent 6 years building her following.
and look, I'm the ultimate keep it simple person. So I don't do a lot of marketing. I write the books, and they're written well, I'll give them that. And I don't have them on different platforms. I'm Amazon only
Yep.
because it's so easy. KDP, I love. Probably 60% of my income comes from that, from the Kindle Unlimited. And
Yes. Yeah.
look, I could probably triple my income if I went down the marketing track and had it on other platforms. But I don't really care that much about the money, I have to say. I like making it, but I don't want to do the effort of spending 10 hours a week marketing. But for people listening, if you want to make money, definitely take it home, learn the marketing skills. There's a lot of people buying books out there.
Oh, absolutely. And so many people, especially through COVID, need somewhere to escape to.
Yeah, and the range of genres, I had no idea what is actually available out there.
Oh my gosh. So I'm sure, and the thing is, you can think you have a genre, but then you can realize as well that there are so many levels of niche within your very own book, within your genre. So it's like I was going around saying, oh yeah, it's fantasy and mystery, but those are like two of the biggest genres. So I was like, it's Gaslamp.
Yeah, yes, yeah. You sort of start struggling because and you find a full list of genres on Amazon, and you start scratching your head because you had no idea these books even existed. I've never written horror. I have no intention of writing horror, but there's like 100 different genres just for horror.
Yes. And you know what? I feel like horror is the one that needs those horror and romance sort of need those niche areas so you don't get affronted with something. Because
Yes.
if you're going through horror or romance, you kind of, it's not just like you have an itch to scratch. It's you could probably be a little bit damaged if you come across something that's not for you.
Oh yes, and look, the readers, particularly again the American market, are very sensitive to triggers. I mean, we never worried about triggers 20 years ago. You just wrote something, but now you do have to be aware, whether it's horror or romance. If you're dealing with triggers of violence, rape in particular, death. Here's one: don't ever kill the dog. Whatever happens, don't kill the dog. That's my number one rule.
Do you have the one where you don't kill the horse?
No, the horses die in all my books.
Oh no!
But most of my readers own horses. They know horses die. That's what happens, and that's part of the story. So your horses die, but never the dog.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got a side book that I'm writing at the moment, and in it's a fantasy book, and in it the dogs will never die. They live forever. So yeah, don't ever kill the dog.
It's very important. Yeah, don't kill the soft and fluffy thing.
Yeah, no. So yeah, no, but I like making readers cry. So yeah, the horses do die. I do get occasional letters from outraged readers. How did you kill that horse?
Oh, and you know, it just kind of spurs you on a little bit. It's like,
yes.
You wait for the next one.
Yeah. Well, the one I'm writing at the moment, the third one in this series, it's a real life following art because it's called Hunted, and it's about people who go hunting horses. And because I lived at Muttaburra in the outback for years, that's where I set the first hunt. And I've had to change it because 2 weeks ago, now no one's seen this, so it definitely wasn't copied from my idea. 2 weeks ago, in the exact same area of Muttaburra where I was basing this, someone went out and killed 35 horses in like the scene that I had written in the book. So
wow.
yeah, I had to change it to another. They've gone to Brazil now to kill horses, so it doesn't look like I based this scene on what actually happened. I really wrote this scene first. But yeah, they die. They die by lots of them die.
Yeah. And it's so tricky because you hear like horses in Australia are technically a pest. And they do decimate the environment because they trample everything and they eat a lot of things, and we don't normally have herbivores as big as horses. but at the same time, they're such majestic creatures and they're so useful. They have such a beautiful impact on the people that are involved with them. So it's not like a fox where they're just wild and they're just a pest, or cane toads where they're ugly and they're a pest. But horses are something that's there's a lot of tension between that in Australia.
Yeah, and luckily, I mean, there's a large market of people that like stories about horses, because even the people that just follow racing and have never patted a horse, they still quite like them. But they do seem to get the notion that, yes, they do die. So I feel like I have license to kill the horses in my books, but never the dog.
Never the dog. Never the dog. I saw in your reflection you had, it was, is little Jack Russell running around behind you somewhere?
Oh yeah. There's a Jack Russell and a Border Collie cross Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. So dogs on the farm. But the Jack Russell's a little insane, as probably all Jack Russells are. You just have to say the word rat. Where's the rat? And we've got, he's out of hearing now. Otherwise, he'd be like here.
We have a saying in my house. It's like a Jack Russell on lino.
No, he's the ultimate Jack Russell terrorist.
Exciting.
And love him dearly, but he's a little hard on wildlife. we keep him quite restrained in the house most of the time.
Just safe place for him.
Yeah.
Now, tell me a bit about what you'll be speaking about at the Logan Riders Festival in September.
Well, the angle I've been taking is, because I'm funding my retirement with writing books, I thought there might be other people out there in the community interested in self-funding their retirement after their career is finished, and how to go about doing that with self-publishing. It really is a great way to get its extra income, and it's pretty open-ended income. It can just keep climbing and climbing and climbing until, well, I'm already making more than I can as a teacher. So, I'm going into retirement feeling pretty confident. And I think other people would like to know, there are options now for self-funding retirement. And it's a worrying time, because a lot of people my age and younger now are not going to get the pension. So if they don't have enough in superannuation, they really need to be thinking of ways they can self-fund retirement.
Think of all the people that just were able to tap into their super over COVID.
Yeah, like finance is going to be a real worry. Children, my children's age, who are in their 30s, they're probably going to have enough superannuation to get by, but a lot won't if people don't have good careers. So this it's not just for retirement income. You might be young and you want to do something too. So that's what I'm looking at, ways of building up your income through self-publishing. I'm using it as simple as possible, because my method is as simple as possible. I just do Amazon and nothing else. But I will be giving people options of the other platforms where they can publish if they want to increase their income, and Patreon. I mean, that's another great thing for people to use.
I have a Patreon.
Yeah, that's a good one. So that's what I'll be talking about. I'll give them some facts and figures. I'll give them some places where they can go for more information, and hopefully spur a lot of people onto writing. So whether they just want to do their one book as a gift for their friends, or whether they really want to get into it as, yes, I want to write and make an income out of this, hopefully I'll be able to give them enough of a start and some ideas of where to go, and encouragement. Get out there, get writing, refund your retirement.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds absolutely glorious. I'm someone who really loves the business side of writing. And so when it comes to things like this, it's like, yes, I will be completely organized for my retirement. So it's not just for people who are on the verge of retiring, but for like everyone who needs to consider their retirement.
Exactly. And look, it's not going to be for everyone. If you're not good at writing, if you struggle with grammar and spelling and all these other problems, it's not going to be for you. But there's a lot of people who are great at writing. They're good at, sometimes people are just good at telling stories. They need to realise there's a lot of programs now available on their computers where they can speak their story and the computer will type it down for them. So there's even for people that can't type fast, there's a lot of different ways to go about this. But yeah, that is the number one step. You do need to be good at storytelling, preferably good at writing, but you can always just dictate your story. And if you've got that, then yes, you can look for income in writing.
I always tell my writers groups that as long as they get the garbage out of their head, they can edit it into a diamond.
Yeah, look, my one of my big big little sayings. One of my big sayings that I have is, when you start writing, step one, aim for completion before you aim for perfection. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, and so just get it down, the whole lot down, get it complete. Once it's complete, it's going to look pretty awful, but then you aim for perfection in the editing. That's why you edit,
Mm-hmm.
and then get it to someone who can edit properly for you on
Yes.
top of
Yeah.
that.
Do all your digital edits, do all of your reading edits, personal edits, and then get a professional editor to have a look at it.
Yes, but you will save a lot of money if you can get like a lot of edits done first. And then there's you can have your beta readers, your alpha readers. You can have friends that know how to do a bit of editing. Get it really good before it goes to your editor, so they don't have to have quite so much to do.
Yes.
And beware of the fact that there's nearly as many people trying to scam authors as there are authors. So there's lots of people saying, I can edit, but they can't.
No, no. And most legitimate editors will say to you that they'll do a sample page so that you can see, because not all editors are the same. I've had 4 different editors, and not all of them understood the flow that was happening. And some of them they wanted to insert their own ideas into the story or their own perceptions of how things should be written. I flicked them as fast as they came. And now I've settled on someone who I knew in high school who has a master's in editing, and she's absolutely fantastic. She understands what I'm trying to say, and if it sounds clunky or strange after a few edits over, she's just got that eye for it. So finding a good editor that understands you and understands your flow is just as unique as finding your own personal doctor.
Absolutely. They really need to know the genre that you're writing in. I don't write erotica, but I have quite a few friends who do. And to me, it seems like the easiest money because they write very short books. Some of them are only 20 or 30,000 words.
I know people that write 4,000 word erotica stories.
I know. I mean, like Muted, my big book is 180,000 words. So it's a lot. But they're making massive money. But they do say, they do get an editor, but make sure you've got an editor. If you're writing erotica, make sure you've got one that knows erotica. Yes. Otherwise, you're just getting rid of half the words.
Absolutely. What a fascinating bunch of writers,
Yeah. I tried to do a bit of editing for them, but it was really like, I'm probably not into this level of violence, if that's all right.
Yep. No, I understand that. It's like if someone gets me to look at any story with even the slightest hint of time travel in it, I can't stomach it. I hate it.
Yeah. Look, you're probably like, I mainly teach English, but I also teach science. So I love the science behind time travel. In other words, it doesn't take place.
Yes. It just the how messy it gets is what irritates me. Very rarely do you see time travel. I think Harry Potter actually did time travel the only way that I can really tolerate it, which is it's already predestined, so it's already happened, so you're just creating a circle that's not really a circle.
Well, that's right. I mean, you're just going to keep creating loops out of the time, out of that we're in. I've been a Doctor Who fan for probably, I don't know,
Doctor Who is just full
now.
of whimsy. It's beautiful.
And I can handle that because I can suspend my belief for a Time Lord. But yeah, I must admit, time travel romance, I've read a few, but there are parts that grate on my teeth about, that's not right because you've just changed the entire timeline.
Yep. No, and when they can't make up their mind as to whether or not time is very solid and it's very hard to change the past and the future, or if time like turns on you breathing wrong. So I can't stand it. I would much rather read a horse book.
Yeah. I mean, I love science fiction. Maybe years ago, back in childhood, there was a story, people went back in time, trod on a lizard, and in 100 million years ago, and just treading on one lizard completely changed the timeline. So when they came back, people were half lists. And I think, well, this is why we can't go traveling in time. Maybe we could send thoughts in time, as long as it didn't change anything, it only observed.
Yeah, you can send your own little invisible camera back to watch things, but that's it. Nothing else.
No. I'm not time traveling. I'll stick with horses and mysteries for a while.
I like science fiction more when it's about other planets, or when it's about the spaceships and, the fun things to do with that. Like Star Wars and Firefly were some of my favorites, purely because you got to explore a whole new world, or several.
And this is, again, one of the great things about self-publishing and the huge publishing houses like Amazon. The range of books dealing with science fiction and other planets is amazing. And I'm a Kindle Unlimited subscriber, so I go through quite a few books where I start, read 2 chapters and go, move on. But then you get onto an author and you love their work. And you just read everything by them. So for whether people want to be authors or readers, Amazon, you might not like Bezos, you might not like billionaires going to space, but you can make it work for you.
Yes. And a lot of the things that are on Amazon, if you Google the title, you can buy it directly from the author, and then they get 100% of the proceeds, which is something that a lot of people forget.
Yes, yeah.
So use Amazon to explore, and then go through the author direct.
Yes, yeah. There's it's a big world, this self-marketing, self-publishing, but it's fun. Yeah.
It is. And that's the thing. It's a lot of fun to do all the individual pieces of it. The writing, the cover designing, like choosing your blurbs and getting those ready. Doing the marketing can be very fun as well, and organizing it so that it's like your wizard tower or your house, which is your author platform, is built of exactly how you want it built.
Yeah. Look, if I was having my time over and my main object was simply to write to make money, I would start by writing, a series of 4 or 5 books in fantasy or science fiction or romance. Oh God, probably time travel. No, I wouldn't do time travel. But romance. I still can't quite handle erotica, but definitely if people think they could write it, there's big money to make. So if you really wanted to write to make money, get in those genres, do the covers, do the editing, do everything right, and there's good money to be made using Amazon and all the other platforms that are available to you.
Absolutely.
And if you're lucky enough to get a BookBub, and which is the biggest promotion for any author, and
life-changing.
I've tried hundreds of times. I have my first BookBub on the 19th.
So, congratulations. Yay. BookBub love a sale. I think that's the trick with BookBub. If you've got a box set and you've got it super discounted, they are as happy as a pig in mud.
Yeah,
but if you're just doing 1 or 2 books and you want to discount it just a little bit, then they're like, nope, not interested.
Yeah, and look, a lot of authors hate this notion of giving away a book. They say, oh, well, I've worked hard, I've given it away. And we're not talking giving away the paperback. We're talking giving away the digital version.
Yes.
But if it's in a series and you can pick up 20,000 new readers on the giveaway, hopefully if you've written well, you get the follow through as they buy the rest of the books. So I have no issue with giving away a book on BookBub. It's only my middle grade series, but there's 5 books in the series. And as I said, it makes regularly, around that 500 to 1,000 a month anyway. So yeah, fingers crossed with a BookBub, we might go higher, which would be great.
It's so exciting. Very exciting. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Leanne. I feel like this is it's a conversation. We could talk about self-publishing and all of the nooks and crannies of it for hours. It's my favorite topic ever. So thank you so much for joining me, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll see you at the Logan Writers Festival, and hopefully we'll get a few people along who want to learn how to make money with self-publishing.
Oh, so exciting. So you will be able to see Leanne at the Logan Writers Festival on the 10th and 11th of September, COVID permitting.
Yes. Yeah, we must add that all the time now.
It's all right.
Thanks a lot.
I keep telling everyone I'll postpone it before I make it an online event. So it will be postponed if anything goes wrong. But until then, 10th and 11th, they will all come and see you and learn exactly how they can make some money in their book retirement.
Thanks very much for that.